Bene, buongiorno a tutti.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I am Alessandra Salimbene. Probably you know it. I have two spaces here, and it makes me happy. And I have subdivided my content into two different themes, which are, however, strictly connected. And today, I will speak about a project specifically for the sector opticians, and I'd like to speak about it from two different perspectives. Why I launched it and why I carried it out, and it's an idea that originated from you. And then I will consider also another facet. That is to say, the project includes all of those elements that may turn a social project into a successful project. So, by Dall'Ottico, this specific experience has inspired me to tell you something. You know what By Dall'Ottico is? Have you had the opportunity to get to know it, to follow it? No? Okay, so I'm going to speak about it from the very beginning. So, By Dall'Ottico is a channel, is a channel that I created in an autonomous and independent way. It's a channel inside which I created content, and in extremely simple terms, such content explains to customers why opticians should be a preferential channel to purchase products for vision in a very simple way. Why eyewear is bought from an optician and not elsewhere. Nobody says it. It is taken for granted, but consumer communications specifically aimed at saying it, I wasn't aware of it. And this project originated from a controversy, and I will speak about it during my speech. A controversy in the sector, a group of your colleagues on Facebook, and I don't know if you heard about it, there was an initiative of a group of colleagues to promote a law whereby pre-assembled glasses could just be sold in optician stores. The concept was quite simple, and I expressed my opinion as I usually do. I expressed my opinion inside the group. I said, you've been so good because you have been very active to achieve this result, but in marketing perspective, you have focused on an objective which is not your real objective. Our real objective is to promote the category in a professional way, selling eyewear for vision. We shouldn't care so much about pre-assembled products, and we should devote more time to high added value products. And this triggered a set of controversies, as it often happens on such social media, and fortunately I try and be not extreme during such exchanges, and hence a colleague said, why Alessandra, don't you try to communicate such concepts to final customers, because you're right, but nobody does it for us. And hence I tried to find support inside the group, and I decided to do this. if you connect to Facebook, YouTube, or my website, you find a section which is called Vaidalotico, and you have independent, absolutely independent content. Such content is not sponsored by any brand, and it simply says glasses eyewear is bought from opticians for this list of reasons. And this has had some consequences I'd like to talk about. And such content is created whereby everybody operating in the sector can share it on their own channels. And basically, it states you can rely on professionals for your vision. I have made this premise because when you do something for free, or when you do something because you do care about it, somebody may think you may have vested interests, and who is at the basis of it. And instead, I just want to be recognized as a professional in your sector. I'm a very good eyewear consultant. I'm not an optician, so I speak as a non-optician, and it's important when you address the market. The fact I'm not an optician, and however I know your market, it allows me to use a language which addresses non-specialists better. And I don't own stores. I don't have relatives owning such stores. I've been operating for so many years in the field, and hence I've made available my specific competence. That's it. It's as simple as that. And as I said, there was a controversy, and I was invited by you to carry out this initiative, and I also made some sort of social experiments, and I wanted to have an idea of the type of reactions. And the question that was asked was as follows: why, Alessandra, don't you do something to explain persons that they should buy eyeglasses, sunglasses from opticians and not in pharmacies, in stands on the street, and so on and so forth. So what did I do? I posted this. It was made in 5 minutes, basically, and I said, do you want me to create a video aimed at the public to promote the figure of the optometrist? If you want me to do it, express your like. And so I asked for the opinion of the group, and the fact was that if I would do it, those that said I like it should support me. Here, you see the post. And I said, if I get 100 likes for the proposal, I would make a video and make it available for anybody that might want to use it for corporate communications in their own web pages, on Facebook page, and in points of sale, wherever they may want to use it. I don't read it all. Basically, what does it say? It says that I like represents some sort of agreement. If you say I like it, you express a commitment to give help. I didn't want contracts. I simply needed an I like to carry out the project, and the result of the post was quite significant. And it's a post inside the group. It's not public. And back then, the group simply had 3,500 members, and now it's a bit more. And 373 persons signed this form of virtual contract, more than 10% of participants, and 111 comments that I cannot show you. It's comments supporting this type of activity, and this was the first interesting element. And within such interactions and inside such interactions, there were also persons that in the previous controversy were critical, and so it made me think about online communications. Actually, it's very easy to get flushed when you communicate in groups, but when you have a different type of approach, people can change their own mind, and perhaps they do not say you're right, but they follow what you're doing. And not being, however, in full agreement, persons do appreciate that there's a strong commitment in showing something. When you show you have competencies, they may not be in full agreement, but they do appreciate the commitment you take. And I had the support of the network. A certain number of persons that was enough so that the project might become viral, and I went on. After some days, here it's July 29th. The post dated back to the 23rd. After 6 days, in a very short time span, I posted the first video. And I invented the hashtag Vaidalotico, and I knew I would encounter problems. Perhaps you do not know it, but one of the most serious problems of your category is that you do not agree on how you want to be defined. It's so difficult to explain to the public something if you don't even agree on the best title for what you do. So I invented the image, content, prepared the video and published it while I was also working, because I couldn't just deal with it. So when I said Vaidalotico, not Vaidalotico optometrista, optico optometrista, optical center, optical store, optometrist, all the names that you have to define your profession. I made a choice that was considered to be a political choice, but I pursued a strategy that was the right strategy. So Vaidalotico was published, and I shared it on my profiles in the groups where I'm present and where I'm followed by the sector, and here you see the results. I invested 18 euros sponsorship to obtain 41,773 contacts, 713 clicks on the link. People go in and see the video and a set of other data. 935 I like. If you consider the size of our sector, you may realize I was very proud about the result. The sector is quite limited, and this result was achieved on the basis of my personal contacts. Simply, I didn't carry out any type of activity except for the sponsorship of the network on Facebook. And what allowed me to achieve this result, in my opinion, what was it, in your opinion? I tell you, okay. Just because it's lunchtime, you're here and you deserve it. And before publishing it, I asked for this type of support. And even if I didn't charge anything and I didn't want anything signed, but by simply asking for a symbolic sign with I like, all those that expressed a commitment, they shared this content, and it allowed me to give visibility to the project with such a limited budget, and hence a mechanism of engagement. in the wonderful presentation delivered before, they said it at the end, we should try and involve our public. In my case, I had to involve the professional public, but the logic is the same. We have to involve people that we want to have as reference persons, and especially we should become a reference point for them. Do you want to see the video? Are you interested in the video? Yes? Okay.
Gli occhiali sono in assoluto l'accessorio che utilizziamo di più. Gli occhiali da sole, che sono quelli che servono per proteggerci dai raggi UV e che ci fanno sentire un pochino più fashion. E gli occhiali da vista, ovvero quegli oggetti indispensabili per chi ha qualche difetto visivo e che servono anche per completare il nostro look e farci sentire un pochino più sicuri di noi. Sceglierli può sembrare semplice, in fondo si trovano un pochino dappertutto, però in realtà non è proprio così. Tu sei sicuro che stai affidando il tuo benessere visivo, la scelta dei tuoi occhiali e il benessere visivo della tua famiglia a qualcuno di cui puoi veramente fidarti? Mi chiamo Alessandra Salimbene, nella vita mi occupo di retail marketing e di personal branding, ma oggi non sono qui per parlarti di questo. Per ragioni personali e professionali ho sempre avuto molto a che fare con il mondo dell'ottica. Ho lavorato con moltissimi ottici, con tantissimi canali distributivi e anche con qualche azienda. E quindi ho deciso di fare questo video per condividere quello che ho imparato in questo settore e magari esserti utile per aiutarti a scegliere meglio. Gli occhiali da sole, per esempio, sono dei prodotti molto diffusi, si possono trovare nei negozi di articoli sportivi, si possono trovare all'interno degli autogrill o addirittura sulle bancarelle dei venditori abusivi. Poi ci sono altri occhiali non personalizzati che spesso si trovano in canali che non sono specializzati. Parlo di quegli occhiali che comunemente vengono chiamati occhiali da lettura o occhiali per vicino, che servono a chi magari superato i 40 ha delle difficoltà a leggere o a vedere bene da vicino. Si tratta di occhiali cosiddetti montati, ovvero che montano delle lenti standard con delle gradazioni standard e che solitamente vengono utilizzati come prima e facile apparentemente soluzione per chi inizia ad avere questo problema. Ma siamo proprio sicuri che questa sia la strada giusta? Il benessere visivo è una cosa così importante, vederci bene è qualcosa che è fondamentale per la qualità della nostra vita e per renderci più efficienti, più felici e più sereni nelle nostre giornate. E quindi veramente possiamo affidare qualcosa di così importante come la nostra vista, come questa forma di benessere di fondo che guida tutte le nostre azioni, a del personale non specializzato o addirittura a qualcuno che vende su una bancarella? Secondo me no. Gli occhiali, secondo me, vanno acquistati dall'ottico. In realtà, sia gli occhiali da sole che gli occhiali da lettura, i cosiddetti occhiali per vicino, sono degli articoli che non andrebbero assolutamente sottovalutati. Gli occhiali da sole, ad esempio, devono avere dei filtri, delle lenti che siano veramente di buona qualità. Se no possiamo avere l'impressione che ci riparino dal sole, ma in realtà i filtri non bloccare quei raggi UV che sono molto dannosi per i nostri occhi, soprattutto se si tratta di bambini. Tant'è vero che gli occhiali da sole normalmente dovrebbero essere accompagnati da un marchio che si chiama marchio CE e che certifica la qualità delle lenti che noi stiamo utilizzando. Per quanto riguarda gli occhiali da lettura, bisogna considerare il fatto che la presbiopia è un vero e proprio difetto visivo, quindi un difetto personale per ognuno, che ognuno ha in maniera diversa, ed è molto importante utilizzare delle lenti correttive che siano della giusta gradazione e centrate precisamente per i nostri occhi. E quindi che cosa devi fare? A mio parere basta osservare. Cerca qualcuno che abbia dei prodotti che ti piacciono, che ti fanno sentire bene, che ti sembrano in linea con quello che è il tuo stile, con quello che sono i tuoi desideri. Non preoccuparti che i marchi siano quelli che tu conosci. Se il prodotto è qualcosa a cui ti senti affine, sicuramente quell'ottico saprà fornirti e consigliarti il prodotto giusto per te. Un buon ottico solitamente ha anche questa caratteristica, che oltre a poter valutare quali sono le tue problematiche tecniche, diciamo così, le problematiche visive, può anche aiutarti a scegliere qualcosa che migliori, che completi il tuo look. Perché anche l'occhiale da vista, che normalmente ha un valore un pochino meno fashion, in realtà è molto importante, perché può aiutarti a completare la tua immagine e può aiutarti a sentirti più sicuro. Da un buon ottico potrai avere anche un controllo della vista e il controllo della vista Questa serve a definire quali sono effettivamente le prescrizioni delle tue lenti e quindi avere un occhiale per vederci in maniera perfetta e che sia personalizzato sulle tue caratteristiche fisiche e sulle tue gradazioni. Qualche anni fa fu proprio un ottico che mi aiutò a dare una svolta al modo in cui io gestivo la mia immagine e la mia figura. Mi tolse letteralmente dal naso un paio di occhialacci neri di plastica, veramente brutti, poco gradevoli, e mi invitò a indossare una montatura rossa di metallo. Da allora non soltanto il rosso è diventato il mio colore, ma questa svolta che mi fece fare questo amico ottico mi permise di iniziare un percorso di lavoro sulla mia immagine che mi aiutò moltissimo sia dal punto di vista personale sia per la mia crescita professionale. Quindi non sottovalutare l'importanza di affidarti a un professionista quando si parla del tuo benessere visivo. Può essere veramente qualcosa che ti consente di vivere meglio e può essere anche una bella esperienza, un'esperienza piacevole in cui trascorrere le tue giornate. La prossima volta che dovrai scegliere il tuo paio di occhiali, che siano occhiali da sole, occhiali da vista o altri prodotti per la tua visione, trova un ottico di cui fidarti, trova un ottico professionale e segui i suoi consigli, vedrai che le cose andranno veramente molto meglio.
Questo è stato
This was the first video that I shot. It was a bit long, but it was necessary to describe the right choice for one's own well-being and for your family's well-being. And these were the results. So, considering the success and the successful feedback I received from the market, I developed two further videos, one for sunglasses and one for children glasses. And I started publishing some posts for special events, for Christmas, for the Mother's Day, and for other special occasions. And in these posts, I always pointed out the importance of the retail opticians where to buy glasses and related products. And these posts could be then shared by my followers, and then the YouTube channel was created and other ideas came afterwards. Do you like it? So what lessons did I draw from this project? Because basically when you launch something of that kind, and if you do it carefully, you do so also to learn something. The most important lesson I drew is that on the internet, on the web, especially on social media, you have to give first to receive something in turn. I didn't offer anybody to buy anything. I simply said, thank you for your appreciation. I accept your request and your question, and I'm fully at your disposal. And this was extremely successful on all viewpoints. And then another lesson, and this was actually a confirmation of what I've been learning. You may have attended my workshops last year and 2 years ago, and you may know that I always try and consider personal branding within the framework of marketing. I always recommend that people put themselves at stake and challenge themselves. In social media and in digital marketing, people like to engage in relationships with other people. If you're able to launch a project where you are the protagonist, the main player of the communication, then the project is deemed to be successful. I don't think I would have the same result if I had developed a personal video on a general topic. So what gives value to a poor product is the specific setting. On that morning, we had, for instance, only one camera, so we shot that video with a very limited budget. But despite of that, you can be successful if the content provided is high quality, and if the protagonist has a certain level of recognition. Talking about the research on generations, you may have heard we move from visibility to credibility. This is what sociologist Morace said. And this is true. Nowadays, it is no longer important to reach high numbers and to have a great audience in TV. It is much more important to have a well-targeted audience composed of those people who are interesting for us, not so much to be visible, but rather to be credible. And credibility can be built through these kind of tools. And then another lesson, videos are the future. This was a confirmation. The fact of using videos and films, and not only texts or pictures, but the idea of telling a story to people is something that works always very well. And then, well, pictures help. This may sound trivial, but this is very important. These videos were first published on YouTube and then shared on Facebook. Things change very quickly. Well, now I know that it is much more practical to publish videos directly on Facebook, as I did yesterday for my interviews at Mido. So I will from now on, I will publish my videos directly on social networks rather than on YouTube first. As I said, pictures support the text, and this was very visible in my own work. And then polemic, if managed with intelligence and with serenity, can become very productive. And this is another lesson I drew from this experience. And this is a question I often receive. When I say if you want to be successful in doing business online, and if you want to be effective in doing business, you have to be ready to accept challenges, to accept also critical feedbacks and emotional feedbacks. And to do so, you have to learn how to establish the right type of dialogue. If you are online and if you enter the wrong word at the wrong moment, you then trigger a full set of conversations and posts that can also be offensive and detrimental for your image. The idea is not that of avoiding communication on the net, but you just have to realize that there are specific methods to properly manage polemic. Sometimes you have to count to 5, 10, 20 or 100 if you want to really reach your expected target. Last Wednesday, I would like to tell you a story. I don't know if you followed the story, the issue of Petaloso. Oh, I'll tell you briefly about that story. A teacher corrected a pupil's mistake. So a pupil, a child, used an adjective in his dissertation that actually does not exist. He sent to the Academy for the Italian Language an inquiry about this adjective, and the Academy said, well, the word was formed and created properly, so for the time being it is not present in the Italian vocabulary, but if you're able to convince other people to use it, it may become part of the Italian language. And this became really viral, and it was shared by hundreds of thousands of people, as it is often the case in the internet. And of course, there was also a polemic and negative feedbacks. But there were also many positive feedbacks. And I replied to some of those negative feedbacks because I think that this is very positive. It is positive for the child education, because this was the way the Italian language was created. So, in a nutshell, from a polemic and from a quite vivid conversation on this topic. So to make the story short, I decided to write an article in which I clearly explained why it was wrong to criticize that adjective, and the same people who originally gave me a negative feedback congratulated for this beautiful article that I published in the web. So you can very quickly criticize a person, but you can also make up your mind very quickly and express your recognition for a person. And this also applies to our business. So we have to properly manage polemic and criticism. If polemic and criticism is turned into a positive way, it's like a complaint in a store. Customers getting into our store to complain will be extremely loyal if you're able to solve their problem, because you testified that a problem existed, but you were able to solve it. And the same holds true for polemic on the internet. If you're able to properly manage it, these people will appreciate you and will keep on following you in the future. A couple of lessons concerning the language. You have to speak in order to be understood. You don't have to speak to show how good you are, how professional, how competent you are, how much you studied, and how better you are compared to other people. You have to speak in order to be understood. The best person who is able to explain something easily is the person who doesn't know that thing at all. So although we are professionals, so we have to use simple words. If I'm in front of a person who can explain to me one thing in a very simple way, I tend to think that that person knows that product so well that he or she can explain this to me in very easy and affordable words. So people who do communication and are not experts in the field tend to make this mistake. They tend to use too many difficult words, too much jargon, and the result is that the message is not comprehensible. Second lesson, what is obvious to you is not always obvious to the rest of the market. And this applies to all situations, to our employees in the store, to our family members. We keep something for granted. We take something for granted because they sound obvious, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes we forgot to mention those things. So not all the things that are obvious to us are obvious for our customers as well. And well, this is actually good for us. Again, what is obvious to us is not necessarily obvious for our market. And sometimes we really have to mention things that are really trivial and banal. So instead of looking for strange solutions, you have to keep it simple. And this applies to all add-ons or to all accessories like anti-reflex lenses, proximity lenses, different cosmetic solutions, progressive contact lenses. Just think about the number of products that exist and that are now so familiar to you that have become obvious, and you don't even mention these products to your customers because you take them for granted. But this is not the case. So in most cases, our customers do not realize that. Why shouldn't I buy sunglasses in a sports apparel store or in a fashion store? I don't have to buy sunglasses there because I may get a high quality product. Why not? Well, maybe a fashion product or what else. But the color of the lens may not be suitable for my personal situation, or the type of filter is not suitable for the type of activities that I perform on a daily basis. But if we don't inform our customers about that, they will hardly know about that. They would think, so it's like when you So it's like what they think it is enough if you put a dark lens in front of you, but actually you have to know what type of filter you have to use. If you explain, if you describe those things, customers will more likely go to a retail optician to buy sunglasses rather than to a street market or to a sports apparel store. If you explain concretely and with your authoritativeness thanks to your communication, so if you explain that to your customer, nobody would ever think of going to a sports apparel store to buy a pair of sunglasses. Be polite, but express your opinion. That's the third lesson, and this is the attitude that we always recommend when talking about communication. Being assertive, meaning that by being polite, we express our own opinion, and this is a type of communication that works very well in online communication. And then you always have to explain what you say. This is my personal opinion, which is, however, shared by many other professional academic opinions. Well, I learned so many lessons through my project by the Lottico, and also thanks to my personal background and my personal training. By following these rules, you can transform virtual chaos into a productive project. Well, by the way, I forgot to say that this activity had also some bad consequences. I received plenty of letters from category associations threatening legal claims, especially those videos on children. And well, the picture I chose, by the way, I used the picture of my son, and that picture was used by some eye doctors to deny what I was saying in that video. Well, but despite of that, I counted till 100 instead of 10, and I used the same strategy. In other words, I replied in a very polite and quiet way with very polite words, and I simply told them, listen, the video is an independent one. I'm not an optician. In my video, I'm not saying that you should not go to an eye doctor. We simply perform communication in terms of prevention. So we communicate the importance of prevention as well. And of course, opticians advertise products that are sold as retail opticians, especially if you, as an eye doctor, leave a huge gap in this respect. Before writing this letter, I got some information, and the only place where I found some official guidelines for managing children eye conditions was a website of American ophthalmologists. I looked at all the Italian ophthalmologist websites and I couldn't find any such indications. So I said, you should not complain. So if you are not happy with my communication, you should not be happy with Hoya or Esila's communication as well. But I'm fully available. If you want, I can also develop another communication campaign. I can explain in that video the difference between eye doctors and opticians. And that person in particular gave up. He replied, he thanked me, and he said, you're right, It would be great if we could one day develop that project, explaining the differences between eye doctors and opticians. And I replied and said, as I shot a video for opticians, I'm also ready to develop a video for eye doctors in the following months. What I would like to say by that is that despite that severe polemic, and of course I was also worried because I would not be able to, would have not been able to face a legal claim in that respect, but I received also the support of Afragoli and of the association, and so the project was a success in the end. And then, last but not least, I defined a language, a common language to use. And on that, I'm very proud. I've been working in the optics market since I was 20. I'm now 40. And I remember many events, congresses, conferences, where the language to use was the focus and was the topic. I added a footnote to the video on the page where I published that video, and I said I used the word optical without any other and no other words because I wanted to use a simple language. I think that if we want to do a favor to the sector in the communication to the general public, we have to start from the bottom. So for the time being, in different scientific and political sector, there are at least 4 different categories: opticians, optometrists, opticians, and opticians, optometrists, with a hyphen in between. So we have also to add contact lens practitioners, visual trainers, orthotics, and many other professions and jobs specialized in vision. My target, my goal, is to bring people to optic centers and to enhance the value of this special channel, because this is good for the market and this is good for people in particular. So people simply say, I go to the optician, and once they are there, you will explain to them who you are and how you want to be called and considered. But this is the way normal people talk and speak. So, and the fact of using that language allows us to be understood, and this gives us the chance of explaining these are the concepts that are true. So I do believe in these things. I believe in professionalism and specializations. But first of all, we'll have to have people get into our stores, and then we can explain what the differences are between visual trainers and other jobs. But if we are not accessible from the very beginning because we're not understood and people tend to go towards simpler things, we will never have the chance of explaining to people who we really are. And this is the reason for this footnote. And, well, this idea was also successful. And many parties accepted that. Well, they said, I will still call me with the right word, but I think that using this simple language is useful for all of us. Here you see other information that I published in the video. If you're interested in it, you can go to my website and check it. One last point, Vai dall'Ottico was an interesting project. It started in late July and was developed till the end of the year. And now I would like to pursue it in a much more regular way, again by being independent, and I hope I will be able to go on with this project independently without needing a sponsor, because if I need a sponsor I can no longer be independent. So follow me if you like the idea. follow the contents and share them. I will publish content, both videos, pictures and texts on a monthly basis. They can be shared in your pages as well. And then I may also develop some virtual merchandising products to support the initiative. But I really believe in that. I really believe in this type of communication. And well, this is a gift for the market, and I hope that the market will give me something in turn. This is, in my opinion, the most important lesson of social media marketing that I drew from the project. To be chosen and considered, you have to provide value in the first place. So give first and then receive. And I think this is a good example that shows how online communication can be effective and inexpensive with great engagement. Tomorrow at noon, I will explain more concretely how videos, how campaigns are developed. Tomorrow we are going to have a real training workshop, but I think this applies to any sector. If you're active and if you communicate with the people you want to involve, and if you're ready to cooperate, so if you pay attention to what you offer, you get the engagement of the other people sooner or later. And this applies to everyday activities as well. Tomorrow we will see how, because we're going to have a more technical workshop. These are the contact. This is the contact information of Vaida Lottica. You can also find it in Facebook. You can use this hashtag. And this is my contact information if you want to contact me for any request. Thank you very much. I would like to thank you wholeheartedly for your attendance. I have to leave for the next workshop. I will be in the room if you have any questions. Thank you.